just what is the scale of the coming Ukrainian counteroffensive? And is Russia preparing to potentially evacuate the occupied territories? I'm Paul, U.S. Army combat veteran. It's April 24th, 2023. This is your daily Ukraine update. Let's get into it. First, real quick, I want to take a second and talk about combatvetnews.com. This is the website I launched when Patreon decided they were tired of war content. As you guys can see, it's got every one of my YouTube videos for free, news stories that I can't get to about the national security environment, including the recent evacuations from Sudan. But if you want to support what I do, certainly YouTube demonetized another video just yesterday. You can become a member, get access to the members only content where we take a look at all of the viral combat videos. Just on Friday, we looked at this crazy Da Vinci Wolves member GoPro footage of him doing. If this were a U.S. soldier, I would put them in for a silver star, leading a small squad against a Russian advance in close combat. It's some of the wildest stuff I've ever seen. So if you want to check that out and support what I do, combatvetnews.com. Now, when we look at the combat map, you can see that the only change is a couple of blocks of advance in Bakhmut. This is good given that you can see that 2 days ago there was a significant advance in Bakhmut, but it doesn't look like this is that Russian forces were able to exploit this breakthrough across the lines. It looks like Ukrainians have probably reformed their lines and are likely going to be able to at least stabilize the Russian advance to look more like what we've been seeing, which is a few blocks at a time. Of course, this advance is hopefully serving its function of pinning Russian elite forces in one place. Some of Wagner Group's best troops are here. There's also a lot of reports that it's the VDV in the north and south fronts sort of occupying, holding these lines. So I think that it is the real purpose of the Bakhmut defensive effort, but it has to be accompanied by a counteroffensive. I've been saying for months that it needs to happen. Ukraine probably has more than 4 brigades already ready, but let's talk a minute about the actual anticipated strength of the Ukrainian counteroffensive. What I think is interesting is that Institute for the Study of War has acknowledged that this offensive will be a coordinated multi-brigade mechanized offensive operation, making use of the reported 9 brigades that are being prepared for that operation. Some documents do indicate that there are up to 13 brigades being prepared for this operation. So, right, 4 brigades, for context, 4 Ukrainian brigades were reportedly used in the Kharkiv counteroffensive, right? So this is at a minimum more than double what broke the Russian lines in Kharkiv. But the catch is that these are mechanized brigades, and mechanized warfare is tough. You have to integrate tanks and APCs into units. You have to have robust, extended supply lines that can repair, refit, refuel these vehicles. And of course, you have to have the actual ammunition, fuel, spare parts to keep this war machine rolling. It's not easy. It includes mobile artillery. It includes long-range precision strikes with HIMARS, again, that are going to happen on a very fast cycle, right? Ukrainian forces can't wait. They can't hold up the offensive while HIMARS identifies and strikes targets. They have to move those quickly up to the front lines, not the front lines, but nearer the front lines. They have to have targets identified. They have to put rounds into those targets and then keep the advance rolling. It's hard, right? They call them systems integration. Lots and lots of things need to talk to each other. This is why there's been so much emphasis and effort, not just on equipping these brigades, but by training them. Now, again, Ukraine had a version of this done at half size, but it's just like anything else, right? You can babysitting 3 kids in babysitting, 6 kids are totally different animals. And that's how these things scale. Right? Ukrainian forces are going to need specialty troops like mine clearing and bridging. So it's a lot of work to plan and prepare for this sort of offensive. But the scale is what I want you guys to take away, that 4 brigades are what it took to break Russian lines pretty decisively in Kharkiv. So showing up with 13 could actually prove pretty decisive in this conflict. I'm really curious if this is what they believe they can roll back with 4 brigades, right? Could they do 2 or 3 times that? Could they liberate large portions of the battlefield with 13? I'm as curious as you are. Again, I won't even speculate at this point on location because Russia has signaled that they believe that Melitopol is going to be the target. I think a brief map analysis would validate this. Obviously, the appeal of pushing Russian forces into the sea instead of pushing them into Russia, a safe haven, is very appealing. Separating Kherson and Crimea from the Donbas is also extremely appealing, or the greater Donbas, Donetsk and Luhansk, also has a lot of appeal for Ukrainian forces. It's a really robust target, but as you guys can see from the map here, Russia appears to be steadily deploying more and more of its troops to defend this territory. The terrain still favors mechanized warfare. You guys can see it's relatively open terrain, right? A lot of fields, not a lot of forested areas or urban areas that are going to be tough nuts to crack or tough to take with mechanized tanks and APCs. So are those advantages sufficient? I actually think they may be. Even with Russia preparing as best it can, a good mine clearing, good bridging, and a sufficiently broad front axis of advance, right? You could literally launch 2 simultaneous Kharkiv offensives on either side and really ratchet up the pressure on Russian forces in this area. But again, it's tough to say, right? We know that there's some shaping operations taking place here near the Dnieper across from Kherson City. There may be some shaping operations taking place in Bakhmut. I think that's the defensive effort in Bakhmut is also a shaping operation for this. So it remains to be seen. And sometimes you launch these shaping operations and you watch what the enemy will do. You watch which bait that they take. Maybe Russia will divert a lot of forces to Kherson. Maybe they'll devote so few forces to Kherson that having a whole brigade push in here makes sense. Right? There's courses of action and what are called decision points in these plans that almost certainly Ukraine is going to know when certain points are reached in the offensive. Decisions will be made at that time based on the information available. So I'm again very curious to see this counteroffensive launch. Again, we are in late April. I'm really shocked it's taken as long as it has. But let me know in the comments where you think you're going to see Ukraine go. Of course, thank you guys. As always, thanks to everybody that supports me on combatvetnews.com. Really, I can't thank you guys enough, especially our Colonel tier members and our Lieutenant tier members. You guys are the ones who make this whole thing possible. Thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next one.